Back now with the big news of the day, the Supreme Court legalizing same-sex marriage in all 50 states. So how does this apply now? Ilya Shapiro is editor-in-chief of the Cato Supreme Court Review. Matthew Hellman, a partner at Jenner and Block LLP. They helped us yesterday through the Supreme Court decision. Nice to have you both back today. Matthew, big question about that. How does this all begin? So the Supreme Court comes out and says this is now legal. If you're in a state where this wasn't legal, is that state now forced to instantly today start issuing marriage license?
Thanks, Jen. I'm glad to be here. This is the law of the land. The Supreme Court is the high court in the country, and the ruling applies not just in the 4 states that were involved in this particular case. It's the law of the land going forward. So I heard a reference to some statements out of Texas about whether or not clerks would be complying with the law if they refuse to issue marriage licenses on the basis of same-sex marriage. My understanding of the decision is that no, that's not permissible under the court's ruling.
Interesting. Ilya, what's your take on it? And just so I can clue our viewers in a little bit, if you're just joining us, Texas already came out with an interesting statement about the ruling, saying essentially that talking more about religious liberty, the First Amendment, the Attorney General of the state cautioning different counties not to start issuing marriage license, saying this yesterday. You have 2 big counties in Texas, Travis County outside of Austin, Harris County outside of Houston, already issuing the license. And so you had this kind of interesting dynamic playing out in Texas about how this law only in the first few hours is being applied. Do you see it as Matthew sees it, that as of today, no matter where you are in the country, this is instantly applied?
Well, it is the law of the land. It might take a while for all the nuts and bolts and procedures at all the very county clerk levels to go into effect. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a constitutional violation if you go to a county clerk today in Texas and they refuse. There's still a process, but certainly within about 30 days, you kind of have to have the legal mechanisms work themselves out. But there is no wiggle room in the majority opinion today. All states have to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. The only option that state officials have, if they don't want to enforce it, is to resign and let someone else take their place that will enforce the law of the land.
Matthew, what about the questions of the First Amendment? That's coming out of Texas, but it's a broader conversation really nationally from different groups, whether it's a business that has a religious philosophy or religious organization. If you're part of a business or organization that is religious, that doesn't recognize same-sex marriage, what does this ruling mean for you?
Well, I think there's, that's going to be a little bit of a complicated question that'll probably work itself out in a variety of ways. I think the first point to recognize is, in terms of the First Amendment and freedom of conscience, if we're talking about marriage ceremonies within a given religion, this decision does not require clergy of a certain faith to perform same-sex marriages. I think that's pretty clear from the decision itself. The next question comes with, what about businesses that get federal benefits or state benefits? And if they're not acting in a manner that treats same-sex couples the same as heterosexual couples, there, I think, as the arguments of the court suggested, in order to get those federal benefits or state benefits, it may well be that both types of couples will have to be treated the same. But I suspect that is going to be an area in which there'll be future debate going forward.
Ilya, how do you see that?
Yeah, I'm a strong supporter of the First Amendment and of religious liberty. I'm for gay marriage and for the Religious Freedom Restoration Act and freedom of conscience, freedom of contract, for that matter. So those are the battles to come, I think, legally speaking. But certainly, this decision today binds state and county and federal officials. It does not command private actors to do anything.
Interesting, because again, whether it's businesses, whether it's organizations, even universities, there's some questions on how it's applied. Early as it is, we'll certainly be tackling some of those legal questions ahead. Ilya and Matthew, great to have you both back today. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.